Imagine, if you will, that this ball is covered in razor-sharp spikes, each one sharp enough to cut through steel. In some emotional outburst, someone throws this ball at you. Instinctively, you reach out and catch it. But as soon as you do, the spikes dig deep into your hand. The pain hits you like a ton of bricks. But in this intense moment, suddenly you find an inner strength growing inside of you. Your emotions turn from pain to anger. You've decided no matter how much it hurts, you will never drop this ball because you will never let anyone hurt you like this again. The ball, originally a point of pain, at least in your mind, is now a testament of your inner strength and resilience. Year after year, you keep holding onto the ball, refusing to let it go. It feels impossible now to make new friends because the pain of the ball constantly reminds you that someone you once cared for hurt you. Deductive reasoning says if someone I care for hurt me, then if I never care for anyone, I can never be hurt again. Originally, holding on to the ball was so no one would ever hurt you again, but you're now hurting others, even though that was never your intent. It's still true. Hurting people hurt people. You now struggle to relate to your relationships. People around you are eager to help. They beg you to drop the ball, but you're haunted by the thought, what if someone picks it up and throws it at me again? This thought trashes your relationships. Those you care about now seem distant, their faces filled with concern. Maybe you've given up on intimacy and determined that one night stands is all that's needed, and honestly, it's all that you want because it doesn't require connection or commitment. This cycle of fear and hurt keeps the ball stuck to you, and worse, and unfortunate, you to the ball. You've been holding on to this ball for so long that it has become a part of you. So much so that at times you forget the pain of the ball, but you can't forget the person who threw it at you. Rumination is weighing in on you, not just physically, but now emotionally and spiritually too. Maybe you're so bitter and broken, you're even blaming God for letting this happen to you. Eventually, you start to medicate your pain. Maybe your only comfort now is food or alcohol or porn or whatever. You find yourself pulling away from the world, trapped by your own doing, with the ball and the infection and whatever you're using to self-medicate as your only relationship. The infection has woven itself into your entire life, leaving you questioning whether you can really break free. Maybe you do happen to find someone who cares for you, or maybe even loves you, but in reality, you're strangers because you keep them at a distance. Maybe you'll learn what I learned so long ago. Proximity is not intimacy. Even Judas was in proximity with Jesus. Wounds can lead to one or two unhealthy narratives. You implode or you explode. Implosions lead to a broken heart, sadness, and depression. And for me, it was brutal loneliness. Or you explode that leads to anger and rage, usually toward those that's closest to you. You're not just holding the ball, now you're throwing it. And so many others have done, eventually they leave you too. A self-fulfilling prophecy has come full circle, leaving you tangled in a web of your own making, with the ball and the pain and whatever you use to self-medicate as your constant companions. Again, it's still true. Hurting people hurt people. This is what unforgiveness looks like. It is a heavy burden that many individuals carry, often without even realizing the extent of its weight. I'm truly sorry for your pain, and I do understand. But unforgiveness is a pain that can linger in the shadows of your heart and mind. Unforgiveness is a dark night of the soul. The person who inflicted this hurt may have long since exited your life, but you find yourself still tethered to that moment of betrayal and anguish. You continue to hold on to the memories and the feelings associated with that hurt, convinced that by doing so, you're protecting yourself. You think, no one will ever hurt me like this again. But with that mindset, you build walls around your heart, fortifying yourself against the possibility of vulnerability and intimacy. This was me following my second divorce. My first divorce happened mainly due to the immense pain from the death of our 5-month-old twins. My twin boys passed away from SIDS, and we were both too young to handle such profound grief, pain, and blame. My second marriage was an extremely bitter experience. After that, I swore never to let anyone hurt me like that again. I admit that in the beginning, much of that pain seeped into my current marriage. Harboring unforgiveness attracts other negative balls. In other words, pain in one area often creates pain in another. Sometimes when you refuse to drop one ball, it just becomes easy to pick up others. The conscious mind may long to be free, but the unconscious will never let it go. So you pick up hate. You blame the people in front of you, but your unconscious mind is still in that moment. And without knowing, you pick up bitterness. You may be even grateful you found a good man or a good woman, but the unconscious mind is reluctant to get close. You keep them at a distance. How do you do it? Maybe you've picked up an argumentative attitude. Some clinicians would argue that you're unconsciously revisiting that moment. I could argue that you've never left that moment. That painful memory reinforces the chains that bind you to the past. One of the things that was a struggle for me, but I will share with you, is that I had to let go of being both prisoner and guard. You see, unforgiveness is like imprisoning a criminal, but the jail cell doesn't lock. So you have to stand there 24/7 assuring the prisoner never escapes. Essentially, you are a prisoner too. It is crucial to understand that forgiveness is not about condoning or condemning the actions of those who have wronged you. Rather, it is about freeing yourself from the emotional shackles that keep you tethered to the pain. Only through the act of forgiveness can you begin to heal, allowing yourself a chance to experience love, trust, and happiness once more. If you're going to get out of this prison of your own making, I would urge you to get equipped and get help. Proverb 1 shares, "Let the wise listen and add to their learning, and let the discerning get guidance." Two things emerge here. A, add to your learning, and B, get help. In other words, A, become a student of your pains and wounds. This goes beyond simply searching scripture with forgiveness or whatever you're struggling with. While that's crucial, it also includes reading books and watching videos. This phase is not about gathering information. It helps you formulate the right questions for B, seeking a pastoral or clinical caregiver. When you learn about your issue, your problem, your situation, you can now go into your sessions with questions and your caregiver can come alongside you. Now you are a partner to your own health. I apologize now, as the next two things will probably not feel good. The first thing is you've got to learn to forgive yourself. Yes, a part of the process is forgiving the person that hurt you, but in God's healing plans, true forgiveness is forgiving yourself also. I had to learn to forgive myself for holding on to the ball too long. If you're thinking, "Ken, you don't know what they did to me. You don't know what they did to me." No, I don't. But a better question is, do you know what you're doing to you? Another thing that was tough for me that I had to learn is that forgiveness is not forgetting. Let me say again, forgiveness is not forgetting. When God says he will remember your sin no more, it doesn't mean it's not in his memory. It means that he's taken the sting of the act out, so it will no longer be held against you. As mentioned earlier, real forgiveness takes the pain out of the memory. I can now share much of my story, being raped, my divorce, all this other stuff, without personal shame, mental agony, or remorse. If you don't remember anything, please remember this. The goal of forgiveness is not to let someone off the hook Forgiveness means it, or rather you, will no longer continue to wound you. You can drop the ball. Or you can keep holding on to them. Learning to offer forgiveness is a choice, just as holding on to unforgiveness is a choice. This is Dr. Harmon ending with this. If you continue to do what you've always done, you will continue to have what you've always had.